Hello, welcome here. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about 3 reasons why you might be struggling to land clients as a virtual assistant. For those of you new to my community, my name is Shanae. I'm an online business mentor for virtual assistants. I started my own virtual assistant journey about 2 years ago. Thank you, COVID. And it's been a wild ride. It's been amazing. I've grown so much. I have 2 little kids alongside the journey, and I'm just so excited to help other female entrepreneurs, moms, anybody who's just ready to build the business of their dreams and start taking control of their own life and their own financial freedom and having the ability to work literally wherever you want and make as much money as you want. Thank you very much. So that is me in a nutshell. Make sure that if you like this video, like it. If you want to subscribe to my channel, I put out videos every week to help you to navigate being a virtual assistant in the online space, what kind of tools you need. I focus more on like processes and systems within businesses, but I talk about pretty much business life, mom life, and everything in between. So if any of that resonates with you, then make sure you subscribe and follow along. All right, so to kick things off, I'm going to be talking about 3 reasons why you might be struggling to land quality clients as a virtual assistant. There's who you want to help, what do they need help with, and how are you going to solve that problem for them? So I will dive a little bit deeper now into each of those just so that we can break it down and figure out how you can move that next step forward basically in your business. So talking about who do you want to help? So getting really, really clear on who your ideal client is going to be what is driving your content and what is going to be driving everything. So understanding who you want to help. A lot of people early on in their business, when they first start out, they're like, I want to help everybody. I have these skills. I've got these administrative abilities. Everybody can benefit from my services. Yes, you're not wrong, but unfortunately, you have to bring it down a little bit. So think of it this way. If you're going to have a really broad, like you offer administrative support, okay, and you're keeping it very vast, you can do your jack of all trades, you can do a lot of stuff in the administrative world, like that's awesome. Then you have to narrow down who it is that you want to help. So helping coaches with administrative support is still a little bit vague. So you want to go like the next notch down, even maybe like what type of coach, because every coach operates differently. Every coach has a different way that they work, and you may not get along with it. You may not agree with their values. They may not, there's just a lot of factors involved, right? So that's awesome that you want to help coaches, but who do you want to help? What is your expertise? Is it in psychology? Is it in fitness? Are you into photography and you want to work with a photographer who does like workshops and helps other people learn how to do photography? Like that's getting really niche down of who you want to help. Where does your expertise lie? And now you can really, really support that person with your broader abilities, right? The other way to look at it too is if you're going to niche down on your abilities and you are really, really laser focused on what it is that you do, like say you really want to you want to do copywriting, or you really want to like get into email marketing and really drive that and help businesses set up their email marketing, get their website set up, do all of those things that are in line with that. Then you can have a bit of a broader spectrum in terms of your clientele, because now a lot of people can benefit from your specific niche. And now you can say online business owners or small business owners or female entrepreneurs. Like those are the terms now because it's a broader audience that you're talking to. But you're like, I will help you with your email marketing. I will get you set up with getting leads. I will like da 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 da. And you start listing it off for them. And that's how you say how you're going to help them, right? But getting really, really clear, deciding if you're going to have a really, really specific niche. So like for me, for example, when I first started out, I was like, I have a lot of administrative skills as I was working in the online space, I started to become more aware of standard operating procedures, the back end of like the client experience, and learning how to set up a really good client journey that was missing. That was just not, it wasn't a thing. So I became really specialized with like CRMs like Dipsado and Honeybook, project management tools, how to get really organized with certain systems that just make your business run really efficiently without having like a ton of tech tools, but having the right tools in your business so that it runs efficiently and takes up less mental space, takes up less time. So I niched down a lot. And then I was able to then target online business owners or small business owners. And I could take it to one next level where I was female entrepreneurs. I had that ideal person. I had this avatar in my head of who I wanted to work with. And I would go through the discovery calls and I would, have that conversation with them and say, hey, your business setup is just not in line with what I do. Or if it was a good fit, I was vibing with them. Like there's a lot of factors involved. I have other videos about how to handle discovery calls and how to find red flags and figure out if they're a right fit for you, because you don't have to go for every single client that goes into your DMs or that sends you a message or fills out your application form or books a call with you. You're allowed to say no. So I do have other videos on that. But the point is, because I niched down a lot and went into sort of the client relationship or the client experience more, I was able to have a broader audience. But in the flip side, when I first started and I was like, I'm offering email support, virtual office support, which is like organizing your backend systems like your Google Drive and your Dropbox, and kind of just like keeping everything organized and just on the lighter, like the broader spectrum, I would have had to get really, really niche down into who I wanted to help, which that wasn't happening. It wasn't aligning, which ultimately made it really difficult for me to find clients. Okay, so that's the long and short of it. Like, you really need to decide, are you going to have a really specific niche with a broader audience, or are you going to have a more targeted audience and be able to help them in different ways in a broader way? So that's who you want to help. Okay, so the next thing is, what do they actually need help with? So when you're first starting out, there can be a lot of assumptions of what do they actually need help with. And you may think, because you're a business owner, you kind of go through and you're like, okay, what am I struggling with? What do I need? That's fine, but you have to get into their head. You have to think like them. What are they struggling with? What are stuff that they just cannot like maintain on their own? They are just way too busy. They can't handle it anymore and they need assistance. Hence why you're the one that's going to fix it. But how are you supposed to fix something if you don't actually know what they're struggling with? If you're just assuming that they are struggling with their emails, for example, how are they struggling with their emails? What about it is a struggle for them? They could be super, super organized and still be struggling with their emails. We all know that the email zero is the goal, but like, doesn't really happen for a lot of us. So there might be a reason why they just cannot make it happen, even though they're the most organized person ever. You know what I mean? So how to overcome what do they need help with is by doing market research. So again, I've got another video on market research. It dives in deeper to it and like how to do it as a virtual assistant, because there are other videos out there that talk about market research, but it's not specific to being a virtual assistant or like an online service provider. So doing market research and getting in the head of your ideal client, understanding how they run their business, understanding what are the specific things that they may be struggling with. So I will use photography, for example. So say you've decided you want to work with photographers. That's your audience, that's your target, your ideal client, like that's your avatar. To work with a photographer, what do they need? What do they need set up to make appointments happen? Do they have a online calendar set up for themselves so that people can easily book appointments with them? What is their process? Like, how do they collect payment? How do they set up an appointment with somebody. Like, what does the actual day of the appointment look like? What kind of what support would they need for that day that you could help them virtually as much as you can? How can you communicate to the client in a way that's sort of like automatic? So maybe a canned email or just something that sort of sets them up so they understand what to expect at the actual appointment, right? All of these things are stuff that you can help them with. But how do you know if that's what they need help with unless you actually do the market research and you actually talk to them and you actually connect with them and see what it is that they're struggling with, right? So those are just examples. I do go into deeper detail in another video, but that is an example of understanding your client a little bit more and what it is that they need help with. Okay, and so the number 3 is, how are you going to help them? So I've kind of touched on that with the other 2 as well, but the bottom line is, once you understand who it is, then you've made it very clear to like yourself and you've made that decision, because anything with business, you just have to make a decision and you have to run with it. You can always pivot, you can always adjust later. The biggest advice that I can give you, especially if you're starting out or if you're struggling in your business at all, just make a decision. Move on, make the decision, stick to it, accept it, and then you can always come back. You can always pivot. That is something I wish somebody had told me earlier on, that it's okay to go down different avenues early on in the business. It's okay. Just make a decision, run with it for a little bit, see how it's going, and then you can always adjust. You can always pivot. So once you understand who it is that you want to help and what do they actually need help with, now you basically are focusing on how you're going to do that and how are you going to tell them that you're going to help them. That's the biggest thing, is figuring out like your business is revolving around how you're going to help your client. It's not about you. Like, yes, to some extent, you want to be doing things that make you happy and that light you up, and that needs to line up with how you're helping them. But there is a way that you can use your skills and understand your abilities and then be able to see what it is that the client needs help with and be like, okay, these are my skills, this is what they need help with, and then marry them together and figure out how you're going to make it happen and what that's going to look like for the client. How is it going to be easy for the client? At the end of the day, you're providing a service for them. You need to make it as easy as possible for your client. And that is why I focus so much on the client journey, because that customer service experience for them is what is going to bring in long-term referrals. That's going to bring in a long-term retainer client that does not want to let you go because you are so amazing at what you do and they cannot see their business without you part of their team. And having that kind of person, having that kind of like soulmate client who has your back, who is bringing in referrals for you, is what it's all about. And yes, initially, as you start out, you may only be able to have a few clients depending on your schedule and like what else is going on. But the biggest thing is just, you want those ideal, those dream soulmate clients, whatever you want to call it. Those are the ones that you want to focus your energy on. Give them the best experience possible. Talk to them, explain to them how you're going to help them. When you go onto that discovery call, you need to be crystal clear of, this is your pain point, this is what you're struggling with, and this is how I'm going to help you and what I'm going to do for your business and where this is going to go, and understanding where they want to go too. What is their struggle? What do they want it to look like? So they may be doing things a certain way. What do they want it to look like? What's the end goal for them? And then you can kind of be like, okay, yeah, this is what I'll do for you. Give them a few options and then away you go, right? Again, I go into more detail with the market research, what kind of questions to ask on a discovery call, all that kind of stuff in another video. But I just wanted to sort of touch on that now because it is relevant. Those are the 3 main things that you really have to figure out, and that takes time. And I don't want you to feel pressured that like, if you don't have this figured out today, you're not going to have a business tomorrow. That's not the case. I don't want you to stress out about it. But the bottom line is, if these 3 things are not lining up, if you don't have these figured out, you're going to have a really hard time getting clients, and you're gonna have a really hard time finding those dream clients because you are going to be in a state of scarcity or a state of sort of like fear where you need to accept every client that comes your way just to make money. But when you get really clear on these things, I promise you, you'll start talking a certain way and you're going to be attracting the right clients and they will want to work with you because you are going to be speaking to their needs. You are going to fix their problem and it's going to be a no-brainer. The bottom line is you need to click with your client and you need to feel that empowerment where you're allowed to say no and you're allowed to not accept every single client that comes your way. So I hope this has helped and I hope this hasn't stressed you out. I know it's a lot and it's kind of intense because it's a huge thing. I see it so much. I see it every single day in the online space that like people are just all they want is clients. They were like left, right, and center. I just need to land clients. But you have to do these things first. Like there's pieces in the back end of your business that have to get figured out before everything just runs smoothly and automatic. So I think there's a disconnect there. A lot of people just don't get it and don't understand what it is that they need to do. So I'm hoping this helps you a little bit. And if it did, and if you like the video, make sure that you like it. Just subscribe to my channel if you want more business tips, mon life, and everything in between. And I look forward to seeing you next week.